Are you a wellness practitioner who's struggling with objections, where people come to you excited and enthusiastic, then you explain your program and the price to them, and all of a sudden things go sideways? Now, there's common objections that come up in a wellness practice, and the way we have to address them is different than the way you address them in what I call and what is referred to as bro marketing. What works in one industry doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work in healthcare. We're working with people who are very vulnerable. We're working with people who we don't want to basically twist their arm into doing this. We want them to understand what they're saying yes to and what they're saying no to. And so objections are questions, right? There's a question that you haven't answered for this person, and that's the thing that you need to get to the bottom of. But it's hard to know what questions you're not answering if you don't ask. Many people, when they get on calls with individuals, might accept the first excuse that they're given or the objection they're given, and they don't probe and dig a little bit deeper. However, I believe that if you feel your program can help that person, you have a responsibility to fully let them know what they're saying yes to and what they're saying no to. Now, saying no to your program is saying yes to continued illness. Saying no to your program is saying yes to not feeling their best. Saying no to your program means that they're saying yes to not finding answers and saying yes to themselves even when a viable solution has presented itself. So it's really crucial that if you love your clients, like I do, then you have to explain to them what the consequences are. Just like you would explain to your child what the consequences are of not doing their homework, right? Or sitting in front of the TV, or what the consequences are of not trying their best. You have an obligation to people who are leaning into you to give them good advice, to give them the best advice, which is the truth, which is what they're saying yes to and what they're saying no to. And if you don't do that, then you're doing yourself a huge disservice because you're out of integrity, and you're doing your client a huge disservice because they'll never get the full awareness of what yes and no means. Now, there's several objections that come up. There's 3 or 4 that are quite common. And of course, I'm not going to unpack all of that in this short video, but I'm going to share with you some frameworks that can help you understand how to approach this problem before it even comes up. So let's go into one of my first tips that can help you. One is understanding through awareness and experience what are the common objections that your client has. Now, if the common objection is money, time, or will this work, or let me check with your spouse, which are the 4 common ones that come into our practice, then we have to understand that we want to figure out ways to address these objections before they even come up. So that's my first tip for you, is to identify the objections that are coming up for you, and then also ask yourself, where can I address this objection before it comes up? Sometimes we can do that through story. Sometimes we can do that by asking people, hey, what stopped you in the past from getting healthy? They might say, oh, it's too expensive, or, I just don't have the time, or my spouse isn't supportive. Really ask that question and listen to what they're saying. They're going to tell you what's going through their head before they even have a chance to hear about your program. So asking the right questions, understanding what your common objections are, is going to help you frame your presentation and tell the right stories. So you could tell a story about somebody who didn't think they had the money, okay, but realized that when they were healthier, they made more money, right? Or somebody who stopped spending hundreds of dollars a month on supplements that weren't really working for them to find a solution that doesn't involve supplements that is now working for them. You might need to address, how long does it take for your program to pay for itself? So if somebody's spending $300 a month on supplements with no end in sight, and they're not feeling good, it's costing them time, which is life, right? Time equals life. So they're willing to give up a chunk of their life and not feel well, but they're also willing to give up a chunk of their income and still not feel good. So we have to make sure that if we're going to work with the money objection or address it, we have to address it before it comes up, right? We've designed this program to be very accessible and affordable. We have payment plans to support you. We have different tiers based on the level of support that you need, right? Helping people understand that you've thought through that money is something that is on people's minds. and that you've created a program that is accessible, that's affordable, but most importantly delivers lifetime and long-term value, right? In our program, we teach people skills which never run out. If I give you a pill, which I might give you a supplement here and there if you need it, that runs out after 30 days. And the benefit is waning or potentially disappearing. So we've designed a program that helps you eliminate wastage, that helps you feel good so you can make better decisions and spend your money on the things that you want. We find that people who are unwell spend money on things that keep them unwell, or they spend money on things that they don't want to be spending money on, like new clothes that hide their shape, or supplements to help prop them up. Or they make bad choices when it comes to the foods that they eat, which everything costs money these days. So we're going to help you actually make better financial decisions and show you why this is the best program you've ever invested in. In fact, we're so sure that this is going to help you that we give our clients a money-back guarantee, right? So if you could address this early on with a story, with a case study, then that's going to be super helpful. But if it does come up, then show people you have financing plans. Show people that you have a guarantee if you do. Show people how much they're already spending and not getting a result, to then invest that into themselves to get a result. Okay, so those are some frameworks for you. Again, the truth is the ultimate thing that we're after. Okay, now if somebody can't afford your program and they're on financial life support, then that's probably what they need to prioritize. But I truly believe that they've probably got some sort of internal dialogue that's holding them back versus the actual financial circumstance, because they wouldn't be on the call to tell you that they don't have money. They already know it's going to cost money for them to feel good, and the amount of money it's going to cost is directly proportional to how bad they feel, right? I always tell people, listen, we're not going to be the cheapest, but we're also not going to be the most expensive, and we're not going to cut corners. Other people reduce their price by cutting corners, and other people gouge you. We're not into that. We're here to create affordable wellness solutions. So you want to bake that into your presentation, before the objection comes up, and if it does, then I give you some frameworks to work on. The next tip that I want to give you is you want to acknowledge the objection. It's important to recognize what that person's going through. I understand. Can you tell me more? Right? If somebody says, I don't have the money, I hear you. Tell me more. And let them tell you what that means, right? Don't assume they don't have money. Maybe they feel like they've spent a lot of money on other programs, and what they're really afraid of is what their partner is going to say when they come back and say, hey, I found something that's going to work for me. Or they might be dealing with something that they're spending money on that isn't producing a result for them, but it's leading to them thinking that they don't have the resources. Maybe they can cut a few things out. And so again, it's our job as coaches, as mentors, as guides to tell people the truth, the absolute truth. But we also want them to feel heard, seen, and acknowledged. All right, next objection. Number 2 is time. People tell you don't have time for this. Well, I don't find that to be the case, because most people are probably not going to get on a call with you to tell you they don't have time as their truest objection. Who gets on a call, wastes their time to tell you that they don't have time? Why are you on this call, right? Do you do this in other areas of your life, right? Where you just say yes to things and then you don't commit, right? That's a pattern that you're potentially repeating over and over again. And the only way to break that cycle and pattern is to say yes right now. In fact, our programs don't take much time out of your day. You're already breathing. You're already pooping. You're already thinking. You're already sleeping. You're already preparing meals, I hope. You're already grocery shopping, I hope. We're going to show you how to do all of these things with awareness. It doesn't actually take time out of your day to be healthy. You just have to do the same things you're already doing differently and with awareness. And so most of what we're going to teach you is actually free and doesn't take up any of your time. Okay, so this is a common misconception that people have, is that it's going to be a huge sacrifice of energy, effort, and suffering and time in order for them to get a result. Okay, again, how do you address this in the beginning? You might talk about the busy mom, right? Or the busy dad, or the busy entrepreneur who thought they didn't have time for their health until they realized they didn't have attention, they didn't have focus, they didn't have energy. They were propped up on all the wrong things to help them, quote unquote, feel good or get through the day. But it wasn't until they knew what to do the time expanded. Imagine somebody sleeping an hour less, but sleeping more deeply and waking up more refreshed. That's possible for people, right? You can have an extra hour in each day, or even extra hours of productivity in each day if you're feeling good, right? So I find that time travels faster for people who are unwell, and time slows down for people who are well, right? And we can imagine that, right? We can help people think through that and help them realize where they're wasting their time, and where, with a small little bit of awareness around a bunch of things that they're already doing, they can reclaim their time. They can sleep more efficiently. They can get things done faster. They can spend more quality time playing with their kids instead of on the couch, right? So make the objection the reason to do the program. Address it right from the very beginning, okay? Third objection that comes up is, will it work, right? One way to address will it work is to share case studies of people who didn't think it would work, and they came in as skeptics and it blew their mind. Another way is to maybe even share your skepticism, that you didn't think it could be this easy, right? That's why we created this program, or I created this program, because I wanted to simplify things, and I only wanted to do things and work with clients if I knew that I could guarantee outcomes for them. Can you guarantee an outcome for somebody? We can. And we do. That if we work with you, we guarantee, based on our tracking and monitoring and coaching, that you are guaranteed to get a measurable result. And if you don't, we'll give you your money back, or we will make sure that you get the result you came in for, as long as it's reasonable and within the scope of our work together. So taking away the will it work objection is very important. Share a story of somebody who was skeptical, who didn't think it would work for them. Show them that it worked, right? And you can also demonstrate to them that this is a good investment because they're not taking on any risk. In the past, they've taken on a lot of risk, and it all falls back on them. With this, in our program at least, there's no risk. And in all the years I've been doing this, I haven't had to give anyone their money back for a lack of results. I've only ever had to give people their money back because something happened in their life and they couldn't follow through, and that happens. We understand that that happens. So give people reassurance that you believe in what you do, and you are convinced and convicted that what you do works. Okay? Last objection, let me check with my spouse. I'll leave you with this one. This is always a little bit tricky, because when they say I have to check with my spouse, I already know what the problem is. Okay, in 9 out of 10 cases, these people, unfortunately, could be men or women, are delegating their quality of life to somebody else's opinion, because that person is not living in your body. Most of the time, we're trying to hide or mask how bad we actually feel. And we're asking people who don't really live in the same body as us permission to feel good, right? So many people are propped up, or they're putting on an act or putting on a show. And it's heavy. It takes a lot of energy to act like everything is okay when it isn't. So I ask my clients, what do you think your spouse is going to say when you bring up this program? Or what do you think your spouse is going to say when you connect with them? Let's fast forward. Let's partner with them to really solve this problem. What are the objections their spouse is going to have, right? You're not just speaking to them. In this case, you're speaking to their spouse. So you have to make sure that you're addressing that. The next thing that you want to do is you want to make sure you're helping them reframe the question, because what they're really asking isn't permission to get well. They're conversely asking permission to stay unwell, to not live to their highest and fullest potential. And that can be quite unfortunate as well. So helping them reframe the question and reframe what they're actually asking for is hugely important. Now, it's always best if the spouse can be on the call, but if they can't, it's understandable. Share the recording of the call. You want to make sure that you're explaining your program and process in a way that's simple for them to explain back to their spouse. Maybe you have a slideshow presentation that you can share with them, or brochure or something like that, so they can look at it and make an informed and educated decision. And when the person comes back to you and says, hey, my spouse doesn't want me to do this, you have to dig a little bit deeper. Why would somebody's spouse or guardian or significant other not want that person to feel well? My wife, if she came to me and wasn't feeling good and wanted to feel herself again, I would do whatever it takes as a provider for my family and a guardian of my family and a protector of the people that I love. I would do whatever it takes to make sure it's a yes. I would figure out the finances if I had to. I would figure out the time if I had to. Right? That's what significant others do for us. The only reason that your partner would want to stay well is because they're okay with mediocrity. They'll never get to meet the real you if you stay this way. There's two versions of you, the one that stays on this path and the one that chooses a new path. And that's the version of you that I want to see. That's the version of you that your spouse should want to see. He or she hasn't met that version of you. See, you have to put the power back into people's hands. So when you're dealing with objections, again, here's a few tips. This is just a small nugget of, I hope, wisdom for you. Is one, you want to make sure that the first rule of thumb is the objection doesn't come up in the first place because you've addressed it through stories and through your presentation. Number two is you want to acknowledge if they're, whatever the objection is. I understand, make them feel seen, make them feel heard. The four main objections we talked about is money, time, will it work, and I have to check with my spouse. The dreaded I have to check with my spouse. So I hope I've given you something to noodle on, something to think about, some frameworks to help you address this. And of course, I go much deeper in this when I coach clients. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you some insights. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, comment, like, helps the algorithm, helps more practitioners like you see this information so that collectively we can do the right thing and help more people in a way that feels aligned with us. I know you're heart-centered and you want to be able to address these objections from a heart-centered standpoint. Until next time, I'm Sachin. Have a wonderful day.